The bells of the convent rang one last time. Their toll, uneven and quivering, echoed across the Thessaly hills, scattering through olive trees trembling in the autumn wind. Inside the small chapel, the air smelled of candle smoke and aged wood. Faded frescoes lined the walls. Saints' faces, long scraped away by centuries of sorrow, stared blankly at the sisters below. Sister Eleni of Lissa stood before the altar, her fingers clutching a silver crucifix that had survived storms, invasions, and neglect. Around her, a handful of nuns knelt, their voices barely rising above the whisper of the wind through broken windows. They prayed for protection, for mercy, for miracles. But outside, a flicker of red broke the horizon, Ottoman banners glinting in the sunlight, moving closer with the inevitability of fate. No riders came from the villages. No soldiers remained. The convent was alone. Sister Eleni whispered to her sisters, "Hold your vows inside your hearts. Nothing can take what is sacred there." Yet even as she spoke, a shadow of doubt flickered across her face. The first stones trembled. Dust fell from the cracked ceiling. Somewhere far off, the distant rumble of cannon fire began, soft at first, then growing louder. The nuns clutched each other's hands, their fingers white from tension, their prayers interwoven with the fear that a lifetime of devotion might be obliterated before their eyes. By sundown, the convent gates had shattered. The Ottomans did not waste time with arrows or negotiation. The cannon's roar was both warning and declaration. Sacred walls meant nothing here. Within minutes, the courtyard filled with the smell of smoke, fear, and iron. The nuns hid relics beneath floorboards, silver chalices, fragments of saintly bones, embroidered icons, believing that if their bodies were lost, at least their faith might endure. But the soldiers' goal was not treasure. It was proof of dominance, evidence that they had crushed not just armies, but the very God they worshipped. Torchlight turned white robes into flickering gold and shadow. Bound and trembling, the sisters were herded into the courtyard. They expected screams, despair, perhaps submission. Instead, their voices rose in a trembling hymn, defiance threaded through each note. Sister Eleni stepped forward, crucifix still in hand. The Ottoman captain offered her mercy. "Renounce your God, and your sisters will live." She smiled faintly, her eyes steady. "I have already given my life. What else can you take?" The captain hesitated, struck by her audacity, before turning away. By dawn, the convent was ash. Smoke drifted from the refectory where women had shared bread and silence. The Ottoman banners waved from the bell tower, a grim testament to conquest. Yet beneath the ruin, the echoes of prayer lingered, not broken, not silenced, but alive. 22 women, their habits torn and scorched, were forced south toward the coast of Volos. The sun beat down mercilessly. The road, foreign and endless, tested their bodies in ways the convent never had. Sister Magdalena, the youngest, whispered fragments of psalms under her breath. Her voice, weak yet persistent, drew attention from fellow captives, Greeks, Serbs, Italians, who turned to listen in awe. When one sister stumbled, another lifted her veil, ensuring no horse trod upon her. Small acts of dignity became their armor. Hunger, thirst, and exposure became companions, yet each step strengthened their resolve. Sister Eleni's last words echoed in their hearts. "If you cannot hold the cross, hold each other." After 7 days of forced march, the port of Volos appeared. Ships awaited, vessels built for control, not comfort. Wrists shackled to wooden benches, the sisters stepped aboard, leaving everything familiar behind. Salt stung wounds, storms lashed the deck, and hunger hollowed their faces. But what weighed heaviest was silence. Only orders were spoken. Humanity was stripped away, leaving ghostly forms floating between sea and sky. As the ship entered the Bosphorus, Constantinople rose before them, domes and minarets glinting like blades in the dawn. The city, for centuries the world's desire, now became their cage. Through narrow streets lined with merchants, soldiers, and slaves, the sisters were paraded. Locals paused, murmuring at the sight of Christian nuns among captives, a rarity, even in an empire forged by conquest. They were led to the imperial council, the Dan Humayune, where the will of the sultan ruled above all. Here, faith met bureaucracy. Names, ages, and intentions were recorded meticulously in ink-stained ledgers. Conversion was offered. Accept, live with silk and food, refuse and face disappearance or imprisonment. Silence stretched between the captives thick as stone. Sister Magdalena trembled at the thought of the unknown punishments. Sister Dearest, ever defiant, addressed the vizier. "You may rename us, but you cannot rewrite the prayers we carry." The vizier's expression betrayed nothing. With a motion of his hand, they were dismissed. Not to death, but to lower chambers beneath the palace, a new kind of prison disguised as service. Beneath the palace, the sisters were stripped of identity, names replaced with numbers, garments rough, labor unending, washing floors, tending fires that warmed others while leaving them cold. The empire believed they could bend faith through methodical cruelty, but the nuns had lived under vows of silence and deprivation for years. Hunger, cold, solitude, they had already endured it in devotion. Secretly, they carved crosses into clay walls, etched scripture into dust, counted days by the call of the muezzin, not submission, but defiance. Whispers spread among palace servants. Some called them cursed, others saints. Silence became their rebellion. It moved through the labyrinthine corridors with more power than the empire could recognize. The guards, observing only behavior, failed to perceive the spiritual fortress forming beneath their feet. Months passed. In a hidden sealed archway beneath the palace, the sisters established a clandestine chapel. Broken pottery served as candle holders. Scraps of linen became altar cloths. A shard of shattered mirror, a makeshift cross. Sister Magdalena marked the walls with symbols. A bird for each living sister, a small flame for each lost. Every disappearance was recorded silently, ritualistically. They whispered psalms, shared memories of home, bread before dawn, and the sound of bell tolls. The chapel became sanctuary, defiance, and continuity. Venetian letters, Ottoman ledgers, and courtier diaries would centuries later confirm that this hidden act of faith had occurred, the first proof that their prayers had never ceased. Their spiritual triumph, invisible to the empire, became immortal. Time passed, sultans rose and fell, empires shifted. Yet the hidden chapel endured, silent beneath marble floors. Archaeologists centuries later uncovered faint crosses and half-erased Latin inscriptions, in tenebris lucet. The light shines in the darkness. Only 11 of the original 22 survived, worn, aged, and almost forgotten. Their faith, however, remained etched in stone, unyielding. Whispered hymns survived in rumor and superstition, stories of vanished nuns who refused to bow, who prayed in secret until the empire's ink and force failed to erase them. The palace guards had seen only outward submission, but beneath the surface, defiance had become eternal. Their faith outlasted walls, chains, and records. In silence, the nuns spoke. And centuries later, when modern explorers peered beneath layers of history, they found the indelible fingerprints of women who refused to vanish. A final shot lingers on a faint cross, scratched into stone, sunlight falling just right. Proof that devotion, courage, and resistance can survive even the darkest of times.